da 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 da. Also keeping the craft alive, and also, bringing a part of my soul and my, the magic of India, the magic and the beauty, and put it and combine it with, contemporary modern style, which is, appreciated and loved by people today, and just invent a whole new form of fashion. And we're all lucky to be able to do that. It's a gift of creativity that we all have, and it all comes from happiness, and it makes you happy. When I wear my own designs, I'm really happy, and I hope others are too. Thank you.
Thank you, Malini.
I think happiness for me in relation to fashion isn't about expensive things. Fashion isn't about expensive clothes, designer labels, bags, shoes, etc. It's a state of being. And I have a simple example. If somebody is wearing something really simple, which people may not call designer wear, but has a smile or a glow on her face, versus somebody who's wearing something really expensive and a label and fashion and whatever, and is frowning, I'm really wondering which side are we going to lean to. Happiness and fashion is directly connected. It shows on you. It isn't definitely not about the display of designer threads, of trends, it's just a state of life. And as long as we're happy, our fashion is happy, and that's what matters.
Thank you, Anamika.
Hi. For me, happiness is, I truly believe that there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. You can't go around looking, if I do this, then I'll be happy, or if I don't do this, then I'll be happier. Actually, that doesn't hold true for me. Happiness is just the way. And on the fashion and happiness level, sure, wearing an Anamika Khanna does make me happy. It does bring happiness. It brings happiness to a lot of women here, I'm sure. See, there you go. So that is happiness. So there is a connection in happiness and fashion, and you have to find your balance and your happiness. It really, as designers, we can just present clothes. The rest is on you. You decide what makes you happy. We can't decide. So that's it. That's my way of looking at it is, live simply, laugh often, and love deeply. That's truly what will get happiness.
Hello everybody, thank you for calling me. I think happiness and fashion, and if I'm looking at fashion as clothing, I think it's something that is a part of our identity. What we put on and what we cover ourselves with is what we want the world to know about ourselves. And I think we can make choices about it, because I think as happiness has responsibilities, so does fashion have responsibilities. And I think we can choose to buy, we can choose to consume, we can choose to buy and use and support sustainable crafts, sustainable activities, and in a sense, practice that within our patterns of consumption. And I think that is a solid basis for some kind of harmony with the world we live in, and I think that leads to happiness too. Thank you.
Thank you, David. You all mentioned creativity, and I'd like to ask you all, when you are creative, as designers, we're all creative, we're all original, and the designs you produce, as you mentioned, Namrata, when you're wearing Anamika, you feel happy. When we're wearing designers that we love, it makes us feel happy. When we feel happy, we're creating a harmonious society. But do you have to feel that harmony from within in order to get that creative energy? How does your state of mind affect what you design? Does it change, or can anyone?
I think you want to say something? All of us are going to agree. Fashion and state of mind directly related. If you're feeling lousy and horrible in the morning, that's what you do all day. And when you get up feeling this energetic and happy and, feeling lively, and suddenly you see the creativity just goes to the next level. So I think there is a direct relationship. Also about, I think most of us here may have experienced that. That's something I have experienced personally. Growing up, as I've spent more and more years in this industry, there was a time when I was unsure, things were complicated, I was looking for answers, I was looking for trends, I was wondering what people were thinking about me. Today I find myself in a state where I want to do things that make me and the people around me happy with my work. And finally, that's what's brought me peace. I'm sure of myself. I'm not groping for, different things, different answers. People ask me, how do you manage? I have 2 kids between the hectic chaos of work. I just manage because I feel happy doing what I do. And I find that as a direct relationship.
I also feel that when we're clear and connected to the universe, the flow comes much easier, and I'm sure everybody agrees. And when we're confused and just not in a good mental state, the designs are very bleak for me.
I think even as creative people, when you move beyond that whole fear of success or failure, and when you start enjoying the process more, that's when your best comes out. And that's when you really, there is excellence in design. So I think each one of us continues to, look for that and continues to be in the process. At least for me, that's what I feel has made me a better designer and more of a sensitive designer. It has really helped me.
Yes.
I think also the great thing about fashion is fashion creates beauty, and I think beauty is an essential part of happiness. And the moment you feel like you're bringing something beautiful into the world, a beautiful creation, and a woman that's wearing your design looks beautiful and feels beautiful, that's already part of creating happiness. And also I think very much the role of color is very important. When I buy something, very often I buy it because I fall in love with the color. And colors have such a powerful influence on our state of mind, on our well-being. If you think about color therapy and all this. So all of this beauty and color is involved in fashion, and it's essential, quintessential part of creating something beautiful, a beautiful garment. So I think that's how fashion can really contribute to happiness, through color and beauty.
I think I would like to go beyond me and beyond us, because we can't be happy in isolation. If the environment is happy, we are happy. If a fellow being are happy, we are happy. So if we try and use sustainable fashion, use eco-friendly products, I think the environment will be happy and we'll be happy with them. Rina, Vineet, would you like to say?
Well, about happiness in clothes, I just think when you make clothes, you want them to bring joy to the people who either see them or wear them, and that for me is also other than what I've heard, which I agree with, is a part of the challenge of being behind the scenes. But also, I mean, this of course is not happiness, it's the earlier one. There's a lot of humor working in factories, which we go through in fashion, because especially of the language and the fact that you have to break through the barriers of your understanding, your learning, and try to convince the worker to adapt to something else, and sizes when spoken in different languages. I mean, these are, sorry, it's not a part of happiness, but we have quite a laugh between ourselves, at least I do, at work when I'm trying to explain some of the work and try to produce it and get it finally to where someone like yourselves can see it. So fashion is pure joy for everyone, whether it's the wearer or the manufacturer or the guys living the rut.
Well, yeah. Well, in hindsight, yes. I mean, it puts a smile on your face when you've been through all of that stress and everything else, trying to take a garment out, trying to meet a deadline. But when you're going through it, then it's another story. And I think that's what, as a designer, I am learning to deal with the stress. And sometimes it shows in your work. You know, sometimes when you're very stressful, you know, it shows. I mean, you know, things aren't finished right or whatever else. You overlook a certain, you know, certain things. And a lot of times when it all comes together, you know, you're at peace, and you know, the world just looks a better place, and you produce amazing, beautiful work. It happens to, I think, all of us. So, yeah.
Also our wardrobe disasters and so many silly things. With the colors, you know, how we explain colors to our workers. So, you know, the worker cannot understand, like, it's not like mimicking or making fun. If I ever say maroon, they don't get it. If you say maroon, they will quickly get me the color. Then I've understood that to explain color, the easiest thing is to speak of vegetables they eat. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So if I say sky, Asman, then the blue will come out. These are also things which are behind the scenes, but they're the happy parts of our work.
That's the most fun part. This one? A little closer. That's the best part of being a designer. You get to invent, convince the tailor that yes, people will wear this, and draping the fabric, piecing it up, patching it up, inventing embroidery when people don't usually normally use this trinket. You make it, you force it, and then at the end you see your creation right before you, and that makes you happy. And then you see the look of your customer or your client or even the media and how they devour it. It's like you graduate every time. It's like you're a mother every day whenever you see your creation being appreciated.
Anyone like to add anything? So I agree. I mean, you've heard that saying that a smile is your best fashion statement that you can make. And color definitely can express different emotions and how you're feeling from within. Shrishi always says, you know, don't make life a pursuit of happiness, but an expression of happiness. And I really feel that fashion sometimes can be an expression of happiness, how we're feeling from within. I'll share a little story. My grandmother, actually, my grandfather passed away when he was really, really young, and as a widow of that generation, she was expected to be in white clothes and stop dressing up and everything. But she broke all protocol. She started wearing color right the day after. It's not that she didn't miss him or anything, but she was always impeccably groomed. And she and her friends actually created a different, point of view as to how you can be after you're widowed. So they actually made such a statement in society. She never stepped out without a string of pearls, And when I asked her, I said, Big Mummy, you're going grocery shopping and you're wearing a string of pearls, And she said, I feel so at peace within that I have to show that on the outside. And anyways, wherever I am, he's watching me, So that to me was, okay, he might be watching you, but we're also all being watched, whether you want to say it by your loved ones or by the divine or anything. So I truly feel that through fashion also we can actually connect with that spiritual aspect, which you've all touched upon. Is there anything that you'd like to share, a story or anything with the spiritual connection? I know, Malini, you said you did the course and your collection came out. Anything else that anyone would like to share?
Very often I get asked, how do designers all know at the same time that a certain color is in fashion, or that skirts are going up, or skirts are going down? So I have my own theory, which is very esoterical. But, the earth has like a grid of energy around it, like we all do. We have our aura and our energy, so does Mother Earth. And this grid of energy is called the morphogenetic field. In this morphogenetic field are trapped all the ideas and all the inventions that are expressed from the human mind. So they're all there, and when people are particularly open and particularly spiritual, they are connected to this grid and therefore have access to ideas that are going around in this morphogenetic field. I'll make an example that I think it's really interesting. In Indonesia, Indonesia, there were some scientists that were observing a group of monkeys that had learned all of a sudden that if they put these potatoes that they were taking out of the earth into this river and washed them, they were much more tasty. In an island nearby, without any kind of communication, there was actually physical communication, another group of monkeys started doing the same thing. Now, how did that idea jump from one island to the other? And there's thousands of examples of this kind of telepathic communication. And creative people, I think, are inherently open and spiritual beings. And so we have a little antenna that connects us straight to this energetic field where all these ideas are gathered.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very interesting. Would anyone like to share anything?
I think my colleagues sitting here are going to agree with me. To be able to create from a thought, from something that doesn't exist at all, and then to see a complete garment, and do this day after day, day after day, day after day. A lot of times people ask me, how do you do it? And when I sit back and think, I feel I'm blessed. God's given me something extra, and I need to thank Him for that. If I'm unhappy, if I'm sad, how am I going to thank Him? And that connection is about being happy that He gave me that extra something, which probably He didn't give everyone else. He gave this to a lot of people, and all of us together, I think, need to realize how blessed we are to have this.
I feel that everybody gets ideas. I believe in your concept with this whole higher energy that we can all plug into, and some people are just listening more intently and actually go out and do it. There's so many ideas that I get, various things every day which I don't do. Because our minds get ideas it's intuitive thought, it's creativity, it's spirituality, it's all one magical thing mixed together. It's a constant flow of energy because we are all one. But sometimes I'm scared that if I don't do this, it's going to go away. So I try and do as many as I can.
Anything else? So, you as designers, do you have like an expectation when you look at people? Is there like an expectation or like a judgment going on inside when you see someone dressed a certain way? Do you also have that perception that how that person is personality-wise by just looking at the outfits, considering you're always working on designing the exterior? Anyone?
I think it happens all the time subconsciously, because you are in the process of designing and always reconstructing things in your mind, looking at something. So when you look at someone dressed a certain way, you always think, hey, I could have done this better, and it's not. I mean, it doesn't come from an idea of like putting another person down or something. It's just your way of looking at things and how you would interpret it better. And I think we do it all the time. Not only us as fashion designers, but even like if you're a product designer or if you're an architect or whatever else, there's always that process that goes on in your mind through and through. So yeah, all the time.
Well, for me, I get very happy watching street fashion in India. And I think that is a great head turner. Marina, you will see how much color and how much mix and match, which is so avant-garde, you see on the streets. Sometimes the mistakes, sometimes the errors actually are not errors. They're really unreal fashion. It's all out there. So when they say London has great street fashion, New York has great street fashion, Paris is great for fashion, I think Indian streets are fantastic street fashion.
today at the ashram, when she walked in, I would look at her piece and I was like, when you look at someone walking in and they're wearing an interesting piece, you instantly think this person is creative, he's daring, he has the courage to wear something that's different. And it so happened that she's a fashion designer. How convenient, how expected. And about the fashion weeks, I've been to quite a few. I enjoy the fashion on the street in front of the people attending the fashion shows. They're so hip. I mean, we all know that the couturiers, their fashion trickles down to the street. But the people on the street, they create their own fabulous world of fantastic fashion. And I wish they had a store. I wish there was a store we could actually buy what they had on them for us. Sometimes I even prefer it because it's such an unconventional way to dress up. It's so different. It's so original. You're not a copy. You're not another made in China product. You're an original, which is beautiful in its own.
Thank you. Anyone would like to add anything? You know, Fitzgerald once said, when a girl feels that she's perfectly groomed and dressed, she can forget that part of her, and that is charm. And added to that, when I was discussing fashion with Bhanu Didi, she actually said, she says, you know, when you're well dressed, the mind cannot come up with any excuses when opportunity arises. Because often we say, if some opportunity comes up, we say, oh, I'm not dressed well enough. No, forget it, I won't go. So when you're always impeccably dressed, there is no excuse in the mind. That's one advantage. Any other advantage you can think of always being well dressed?
I think if you're well dressed, you feel happy within. And as Anamika said earlier, when you feel happy within, there's a smile on your face. And immediately you're attracted to that person who's smiling and who's happy.
I think being very well groomed and very well dressed, like you mentioned just now, a girl would stop to think of all the things that are missing and lacking in her, and she would basically shine like a sun with all the happiness she has within to share with the world. It's like you don't have to worry about, oh my God, I forgot about this, it's like you're fully charged. You don't need anything else.
Great.
I just want to add, it's not well-dressed, yes, but kind of appropriately dressed. When you dress from the heart, and your real personality comes out. So it's a good way of showing your personality without screaming and shouting, without even opening your mouth. You can already, show part of your soul, and that's the easiest way to do that. And it also gives you an air of confidence, which, as you said, yeah, there's no excuse there.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, David.
Of course, fashion is on one side, and working with fashion and dressing fashionably. But it can also be very, very nice to spend a Sunday at home in your most comfortable old pajamas with a faded old dressing gown, and be completely unconcerned about how you look and what people think about you, because that is happiness too. It's not always being dressed from head to toe.
That's the Sunday expression of happiness, right?
I think it's your inner, it's for how you feel, what your inner self feels. I think it's expressing that.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a Sunday or whether it's Wednesday. For me, sometimes it's midweek.
So your mood definitely gets reflected on the outside.
Yes.
Great. Actually, now I'm going to open up the panel to either if you'd like to ask questions to one another, or we can get the audience to ask you some questions. Yes, Kavita.
I have to first say that I admire all of you designers that I know. I know only the Indian designers. I love your clothes. I've bought them, I've worn them, and felt very good in them. But for me, style has always gone way beyond fashion. And it's your individual style that really makes a statement. What I see now happening too much is people, subjugated to the dictates of fashion. I see it particularly in the younger generation. And I think that we're losing certainly a lot of our culture and tradition. But I also think that while fashion makes you unhappy, it can also make you unhappy because it's an endless quest. And I'd like you to speak on this, please, because, you know, we're speaking about fashion as being a very wonderful thing that makes you happy. But I think somewhere it does not really encourage you to express who you are. I mean, you see people in villages, I find them much more stylish in their traditional clothes, simple cotton sari, than women who are embellished to the hilt because, you know, this is the color of nail polish to wear and this is the color of, you know, I think you know what I mean.
I think we have the same age kids. I suffer the same syndrome. So much as I was a brand wearer myself, today I personally am developing a reaction to it, this kind of a control of brand slavery. I mean, amongst women, I'm sorry, it sounds like you have to have this bag, you have to have that shoe, you have to have that collection. So beyond a point, I see it in the next generation, and they are completely controlled by it, and yes, not having their wishes fulfilled, how absurd they are, makes them very unhappy. And I think that shouldn't at all be the purpose of fashion, ever. And unfortunately, it seems to be going that way. I'll let David give me the answer. I myself don't have it. I don't like it anymore this way.
I think fashion, when it's an expression of happiness, as we've discussed here, it's truly expressed, then it's fine. But I think when fashion is used as a symbol of belonging for people who want to belong to a particular group, or when it's driven by insecurity, it's driven by consumption which is unnecessary, to me then fashion becomes ugly. I think fashion can only work, as you say, one is if you're confident, you have an inner style, and you're truly using, buying, and wearing beautiful things because they express something positive. But fashion, when it just becomes a matter of trying to belong to a particular crowd or to try to communicate to somebody that, yes, I also belong here, it then ceases to be, I think, beautiful. And certainly, I don't think communicates happiness. I think it communicates unhappiness, actually.
I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on what you said. A lot of times I'm asked this question, and almost every day I'm asked this question: what's in fashion? You know, what's the trend? What's the future? I have been through, from the beginning of my career to a few years ago, a slave to future trends. I would read up every trend that existed. I had to be on top of the game. I had to do the next thing that people were doing. I would study, research, and just go mad. As I'm growing up, I realized that the answer to this question for me, what's in fashion, is very simple. I always say the same thing now: what works for you is in fashion. And I think all of us designers have the responsibility to tell people that fashion is not about that whole designer thing from top to bottom. We can make versatile things. Now I've started doing that, is to make things that will not overcome who you are as a person. You can make this a part of you. It doesn't have to be, let's say, Anamika, Khanna, top to bottom. You're not my brand ambassador, you are you. And that's what's important. I think once we realize that as a collective, and also it has become really sad that now it's almost about proving a point. Hey, I'm wearing this, and I've got this, and I've got the next one, and it's really sad. It's sad for us as well. I mean, of course, it makes the industry survive, but it is sad, yes.
There's someone there.
Hi. This doesn't work. Does it work? Hi.
Do we have an, yes?
Yes, my name is Anu. I had a completely different thought, and I think we all here, mostly women, can make happiness fashionable. I think firstly by just making skinny unfashionable, make size 0 unfashionable, make size 1, 2 unfashionable. We're not shoe sizes, we're women, so we all love to eat. Everybody in the world loves to eat, right? So somewhere we all, I don't know, it's hard for the designers, and nobody's here to blame. We're as much in the game as you. But people are anorexic, they're bulimic, there are people honestly going under the knife, doing surgeries. So some way I think we can all make fashion happy and happiness fashionable by just being okay where we are, not unhealthy and fat, but not skinny. We all can't be skinny. So I don't know how everybody feels about it.
So, would anyone like to respond to that? Did you have a question for them?
No, I don't. It was just a thought which didn't come up in the discussion, so I wanted to
anything you'd like to?
No, I'd just like to elaborate on something that you said, and then I look back and I look at our Indian fashion, you know, where our Indian textiles and our Indian clothes go. It was never about sizing then, you know, when our grandmothers, you know, used to dress up, and it was never about sizing. It wasn't about like, are you a size 0? It was always about wearing beautiful clothes, you know, wearing beautiful textiles. It was not about, do you know what I mean, showing off your bosom or whatever else. But that sadly has become now. Hello? Yeah. With, I think with whatever's happening in the West and how it comes in, it's about, you know, dressing a certain way and being a certain size. And, you know, being Indian, you know, working in India, I think I'm very proud to say that I think we're the only country now left in the world where we still have Indian fashion, you know, which is part of the country. Which, I mean, I think Japan was the only other country that, you know, and people who used to wear kimonos years ago, but now it's just another costume. And I think we should actually be proud and celebrate that heritage because it's still alive. You look at it around everywhere, you know. And yeah, exactly. And here as well. So great, yeah. But we need to celebrate that. And again, it's not about being size 0 when it comes to traditional, you know, traditional costumes. It's all about, you know, being happy in what you wear and how you feel.
Maybe I think the Arabs, like the Asians.
I would think, Anu, India is really not about size 0. India is about celebration, it's about colors, it's about tradition, and I think a lot of people follow that.
I also think, going back to your question, that it's a big responsibility for parents to make their children feel beautiful and feel that they belong and that they're right and that there's nothing wrong with their body. And I think that's where it should start. Because if you make someone feel self-confident, then they won't end up doing that, you know, starving themselves or becoming fashion victims.
The Arabs, like the Indians,
a little closer.
The Arabs, like the Indians, also don't particularly believe in the size 0. We have our own fashion, our own culture, and we love it. I mean, I'm dressed in my traditional abaya, and beneath the abaya, or on other occasions, we wear something called the jalabiya, which is the modern kaftan. And as Maria was kind enough to share, I think if you have enough love, you don't really care what size you are. If you have enough confidence in yourself, and you love yourself enough, and if you don't love yourself enough, the person facing you cannot love you back.
I'm going to disagree here with everything. No woman in the world is ever too thin. I don't think I've faced any single bride or whoever who's come to me and said, make me look fat. Everyone wants to look thin. How do you fight that? It's fine. I want to be skinny all my life. I think it's fine. What's wrong with it? I have to work for it. It doesn't come for free. So I really feel that to try and patronize this whole thing, it's not really fair. Everyone wants to look thin. That's a fact.
Somebody already has a mic. Once she finishes, I'll tell you.
Yeah. You know, this reminds me of a quote what Coco Chanel said, fashions change, but style endures. And you can create that sense of style within your child. If they're happy being a size 0, great. If they're happy being a size 6, that's great for them. But it all starts from home and being happy from within. Any more questions from the
Hello. I have a question.
Yes.
My name is Zinat. I'm from Bangladesh. But this is something all of us were discussing here. If fashion is happiness and happiness is fashion, and all of you designers are so happy doing this, why do the models on the catwalk always look so grumpy?
It's actually a secret because I mean, when, you know, people walk on the catwalk, you want your clothes to show and not the smile. And when they start smiling, then people will start seeing the smile and not the clothes. No, just kidding, but could be a thing.
Actually, when I do a fashion show, I always brief the models before, and I say, nobody died, it's not a funeral. Look at people, you know, make eye contact, smile. Please, happy feeling, you know. So it's not all the fashion shows are with the sadness.
We will actually take one more question, and then Marina has a short presentation for us, and then we're going to wrap up. So just, okay. Yes.
What I would like to say, fashion is beautiful, but a lot of time the media, what they show of a woman, the beautiful woman, is always a skinny, very skinny woman, which is wearing very small sizes. And I think that is what puts a lot of pressure on women when they see the newspaper, when they see the magazine, when they see all that. So what can you say? Could you make fashion shows where you can have fat women also in your costumes and take pictures and put them in Vogue and put them in Marie Claire and say that this is also beautiful?
Actually, tonight will be a fashion show with all different sizes of women, so that's a start to it, which will be starting shortly. But beyond that,
again, when I did my fashion shows with my own label, at a certain point towards the end of that career, I had people, older women, in the show. I had all kinds of body sizes. I had people that were important people in the community. In my fashion show, I had architects. I had all kinds of different people. So I think you're right. I think that the stereotype of the beautiful, skinny woman is a disaster because it really influences young girls too much. But again, I go back to what I said before. I think it's us as mothers have to say to our kids, look, you're beautiful, you don't have to look like that. Actually, if you look like that, you're just like everybody else. So be yourself.
But don't you feel that the curves are coming back? I mean, after Beyonce and the famous celebrities from America and India and Arabia showed up, the curves are back. At least I feel so.
We'll take one last question.
Hello? Here?
Okay. The lady with the lady with the mic.
I'm sorry, because my English is not good, but I will try my best. I think spiritual independence is very important to the women, especially these days, because as a woman, we tend to take care of others. So we often pay attention to others more, but we often ignore ourselves. So I think we have spent more time to understand ourselves. We have to know what we really want and what we actually not so in need, which we are often busy with. When we can understand ourselves, then everything we work or we design, create will always be more easily to be successful and meaningful. I think this is the basis of happiness. And so to make happiness, to be fashionable, to me, I think that is how to make spirituality fashionable.
Thank you. Thank you. One last question right here in the front, please.
I have to ask this question. I'm holding you up. I work in a world of black-suited and grey-suited men. Politicians, diplomats, corporate. Have you got any plans to make the men of the world more colourful?
Anyone? Any plans?
But for the men, to change the menswear.
Oh, you can speak.
I think this is better. Oh, sorry. There's a great book called Gentlemen of Bakongo. This is about the sapeur. Sapeur are these men that live in Brazzaville, in Congo, and they wear extremely tailored English suits in amazing colors, like green, shocking pink, with fabulous ties. So I think they could transform those really boring suits just by transforming the color, and that would be great.
Actually, I'll share something. We, every November, Rajita, we hold a business and ethics forum at the European Parliament. And it's been great to see that when we first started, all the men would be in black suits and ties, and there Shri Shri would walk in his beautiful white robes. We would be in our colorful saris and things. And as the years have progressed, even the men have started wearing more colorful shirts and things to the conference year after year.
Yeah, like the pink blouses and the colorful ties.
So I'd like to now just conclude. Marina has a very short presentation, and then after that, just to let you know, all our designers have very generously donated beautiful outfits which are going to be showcased in a fashion show today at 6:30 with women of all sizes. So it's going to be a brilliant fashion show. Please come out after where we were last night at the Yagyashala. Just beyond that, there will be the fashion show near the large fountain. And right after that, we are going to actually have the outfits for sale. So we are actually auctioning them, and they are actually, every single outfit is going to go towards the cause of Gift a Smile. The children that you saw today, so our designers have very generously offered this. Please do come for the fashion show, do come for the auction, and come and contribute. You know, there's that wonderful saying, if you think fashion cannot buy happiness, you don't know where to shop. Then tonight is the place to come and shop and make a lot of people happy. With that, I'd like to just hand the mic to Marina.
Thank you. Can we have the presentation going? Hi, so as I was coming from Italy, I thought I should present something to you. And, okay, that's me. So just to, okay, next. So I had my own fashion label in the 80s and in the 90s. I was doing mostly knitwear, quite experimental, and I participated in the fashion shows in Milano twice a year for many, many years. Next. These are some of the editorials that came out in Vogue. Next. More Vogue, Marie Claire, and all the major magazines. So I pursued a career in fashion because that was my calling. I love what I did very much, and this is me on the runway. But then, like, okay, next. I also collaborated as a senior design consultant with Prada, Miu Miu, Ferragamo, Piazza Sempione, and many others. But like I was telling you before, my discontent was growing higher and higher because I couldn't find happiness through fashion anymore, and I needed to do something a little bit more meaningful without leaving my profession behind. So I was very lucky. In 2008, someone came to me. They had won a prize in Denmark with a project of making a collection in organic fabric entirely made in Africa, and they came to me to help them make this collection. Next. So we went and we visited different countries. We ended up working in Kenya, in the slum of Kibera. Next. Where we did tie-dye and we did beautiful cotton there. Next. Also in Kenya, I work with this group of nuns that do crochet work, and we did some beautiful styles with them. Next. These are the nuns called the Crochet Sisters. And this is another small factory in Addis Ababa where we were producing the collection. And then we were invited on several runways to show the collection. And I must say that this is where I learned that I could work with grassroots women and help communities that, you know, didn't have that much going for them. And through the fashion and through selling the things that I was making with them, I was improving their, you know, their life. And that made me so happy. And I got, again, very lucky. The biggest organization in Europe for fair trade is called Altro Mercato. And 4 years ago, they launched their fashion line called Auteurs du Monde, so the authors of the world, and I became a fashion director. Next. Next. Okay, so like I said before, we follow the rules of the WFTO, which is the World Fair Trade Organization. Next. And so the World Fair Trade Organization has 10 principles. It's creating opportunities for economically disadvantaged producers, transparency and accountability, fair trading practices, payment of a fair price, ensuring no child labor and forced labor. Next. Commitment to non-discrimination, gender equality, freedom of association, ensuring good working conditions, providing capacity building and promoting fair trade. Also, another thing which is very important, Altro Mercato pays for the production, which means when we order something from a producer, we pay 50% up front, which means that the producer has the money to go and buy the cotton, the wool, the alpaca to make the clothes. And then when they deliver the clothes, we finish our payment with them. And also, we sustain them by having continuity. We have to work with them season after season and maintain a minimum order so that they know from us they're going to receive that much. Next. These are some of the people I work with in Vietnam. Next. These are artisans in the North Vietnam, next to China. They do embroidery. This I just came back from Nepal now. This is Kumbheshwar Technical School. Next. This is the whole team. They do knitwear for us. Next. They do hand-spun wool. Next. They hand dye the wool. Also, another very important thing is we do everything azo-free. Azo-free means that the dyes don't have the heavy metals in them that create illness for the people that dye the wool and for the people that wear it. Next. Okay, these are some of the things I make with them. I also do cotton. And this whole activity that they do with the knitwear is to sustain a schooling program for young children in Kathmandu that it's completely free. So these are kids that couldn't afford to go to school otherwise, and this association provides schooling for them. Next, in India, in Calcutta, we work with recycled sari, and we give them our designs, but then when the production comes, each garment is different from the next because they're all recycled saris. Of course, we work in India with block print. These are some of the designs. And in Peru, I work with natural alpaca. I work with women that literally work outside of little huts. They make the knits in this very beautiful natural alpaca. Next. This is one of the designs. And also in Ethiopia, I work with a community that does hand-spun silk. Next. And they make beautiful scarves. Next. So besides working with for Altro Mercato as the creative director, I also work with Franca Sozzani, who's the director of Vogue Italia. And we do a program called Fashion for Development, which belongs to the United Nations. And it's about bringing opportunities in developing countries through fashion. Here it's a project we did in Ethiopia for Pinco, which is a big company in Italy. I designed these bags. And I was inspired by tribes from southern Ethiopia, from the Omo River Valley. Next. These are the people that I was inspired from. I brought also a film to show you, but there's not enough time. And also Still with Fashion for Development, we find the young talent in Africa and we distribute it through big department stores in Italy, in America, and in other places. Next. I also work with Oxfam. I'm one of their sustainers, and the recent thing I've done for them, together with other designers such as Missoni, Ferretti, Etro, and who else? Another one. We all designed, next, a sweatshirt, and every one of us put something on the front. I chose a phrase from Nelson Mandela that says, "It always seems impossible until it's done." And that's how I would like to conclude my presentation with this, leaving you this.
Thank you, Marina. I know that we're all eager to leave, but just if we can be patient for a few more minutes, SHAIKHA HEND has a 2-minute just a 2-minute video that she'd like to show to us about fashion and happiness. So if you could all be patient and watch that. And after that, there are tea and refreshments downstairs available for all. And 6:45, the fashion show will start. So if we can please have the video. Thank you, SHAIKHA. That was a wonderful video. So I'd like to conclude this session now. And do we have any final remarks from anyone? So can we please give a big hand to our wonderful panel? And do come and take a look at their wonderful designs on the ramp at 6:45 this evening. Thank you very much.